Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into the OETT grant in Oklahoma.
It's great that you're already thinking about innovative tech for your classroom. That's fantastic.
Let's jump right in. First things first, is this something you can even apply for?
Right. They are very specific about who can apply.
Yeah, and we don't want anyone wasting time on an application they can't even use.
Exactly. The OETT wants schools or districts where either the superintendent or the principal has completed K-20 leadership training.
K-20 leadership training.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of us who might not be familiar with what that is.
Yeah, so K-20 refers to a statewide network that supports schools that are using new and innovative practices, and their leadership training is a big part of that. It's really about giving school leaders the tools they need to make meaningful change using technology.
So it's not just about knowing how to use the latest gadget, it's about having a vision for how technology can really transform the classroom.
Exactly, and I think that's why it's such a key part of who can apply for this grant, because they want to make sure that the schools getting this money have strong leadership that can use technology well.
Makes total sense. So your superintendent or principal needs to have completed this K-20 training. What does completed actually mean?
So they have a very specific checklist. First, they have to go to that initial 2-day leadership seminar where they really dive deep into leadership models and best practices. Then there are follow-up meetings where everybody gets together, all the school leaders, and they share their progress and help each other out.
Oh, I love that. So it's like building a community.
Absolutely.
A community of school leaders who are all passionate about technology.
Yes, and it doesn't stop there.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. They also need to complete a tech assessment.
Okay.
It's called TIPS. And this helps them, the schools, see what their strengths and weaknesses are when it comes to technology.
I love that, like a self-assessment.
Exactly. It's all about being honest with yourself. And then the final thing is using everything they've learned to make an action plan. This plan shows how they're going to use technology to reach goals for their school.
Okay, so it sounds like they don't want to just see a plan, they want to see action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it really shows how committed they are to school leadership. This isn't just checking a box. This is about really investing in the long term.
Yeah, they're really putting their money where their mouth is. Now, for our listeners who might be thinking, well, we got a grant from OETT a while back. Are we out of luck? The answer is no.
Yeah, they actually have a second-generation option
I love that.
for schools that received funding between 2003 and 2019.
So even if you've already benefited from this, there's still a chance for you.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Okay, so we've talked about who can apply, but let's get down to the actual funding. How much money are we talking about here?
The magic number is $40,000.
Wow.
That's the maximum they award for technology. But, and this is important, you need to provide a 10% match.
Okay, so an additional $4,000. Now, that might sound a little scary, having to find that extra money. But I love how flexible they are with what that match can actually go towards.
Me too. It's great. They get that sometimes the hardest part isn't buying the technology, it's actually using it well.
Right.
And that takes time and effort. That's why they let you use that extra money for things like staff time, paying for the hours it takes to really implement this new technology.
It's like they actually understand how schools work.
I know, it's refreshing.
That teachers and administrators are already stretched so thin.
And get this.
Okay.
You can even use it for substitute teachers.
Oh, wow.
They understand that if you pull teachers out of the classroom to do professional development or plan for this new project, you need someone to cover their classes.
They really get it. Okay, so we've covered who's eligible and how much money's up for grabs. But now for the exciting stuff, what can you actually spend this money on?
The fun part.
Right. And looking at the application, they've got some really cool examples.
You do?
Esports labs, podcasting studios, even robots. It's really amazing what schools are doing these days.
It is, but it's important to remember that it can't just be about having the latest, shiniest technology.
Right. It's got to actually help students learn.
Exactly. And that's where that theme of authentic learning comes in.
Right. They mention that a lot in the application.
They do. They want to see how this tech is going to actually transform what's happening in the classroom. And that's why they ask you to connect your project to the practices of high-achieving schools.
Okay, now I'll admit I'm not as familiar with those.
Yeah.
Can you give us a quick refresher?
Of course. So the practices of high-achieving schools, they're basically a set of research-based principles that have been proven to make schools better. Things like having everyone on the same page with a shared vision, working together as a team, setting high expectations for all students, It's about creating a learning environment where everyone can thrive.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about how you use it to make a more engaging, more effective learning experience.
Exactly. And the application really focuses on that connection. How does your tech project fit in with these bigger ideas of school improvement?
So for our listeners who are thinking about applying, how can they make that connection really clear in their application?
Okay, so let's say you want to get tablets for your third grade class. Don't just talk about how those tablets will help with reading comprehension. Take it a step further. Talk about how those tablets can turn students into digital storytellers, letting them create interactive books with illustrations and sound effects, and even their own voices. That's how you show them you're using tech to meet those high expectations for every student.
I love that. So it's about really thinking outside the box.
Yes. Or let's say you want to start an esports lab, which is really cool. But don't just focus on the gaming equipment. Talk about how you'll use that space to teach teamwork and communication and problem solving. Maybe you'll even bring in professional esports players to mentor your students. That's how you connect it back to that idea of fostering a collaborative culture.
Those are such good examples. It's about painting a picture, not just checking boxes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about connecting your project to those high-achieving practices, but now let's get into the application process itself, because I know this is where it can feel a little overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely.
But they do give some really helpful tips for using the online system, which I appreciate.
Good deal. Like combining uploads into a single file
Yeah.
might not seem like a big deal, but it makes everything so much smoother.
And I don't know about you, but I've definitely fallen victim to those inactivity timeouts.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the middle of filling out this long application and suddenly, boom, you're logged out. So frustrating.
The worst.
It's nice that they warn you about that, though.
It is. And here's something else interesting. They use blind reviews.
Okay.
So when your application's being scored, they don't know anything about your school. It's all about the project itself.
I love that. Everyone's on a level playing field.
Exactly.
Now, before we move on, I want to emphasize something really important about this grant. It's not just about the money. It's about the support that comes with it.
Absolutely. They're invested in helping you succeed.
So what kind of support can schools expect?
One of the biggest things is the professional development opportunities they offer. And it's not just a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. They work with each school to figure out their specific needs and come up with a plan to help teachers learn the skills they need to implement this technology effectively.
It's like they're with you every step of the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just, here's the money, good luck.
Right. They want to see you succeed. And speaking of success, they're definitely serious about making sure this technology is making a difference.
Oh, absolutely. Accountability is huge.
Makes sense.
They're investing in your school. They want to see results for the students.
Of course. So what does that evaluation process actually involve? What do schools have to do?
Well, it's really a team effort. They help you come up with an evaluation plan that aligns with your project goals. So that might mean tracking student achievement data, maybe getting feedback from teachers and students, even observing what's happening in classrooms.
So it's about getting the full picture.
Exactly. It's not just about the numbers. It's about seeing how the technology is impacting teaching and learning and even the overall school environment.
I love that. It's about continuous improvement.
Absolutely. And this focus on evaluation is really something special about this grant. They're not just interested in funding projects, they're invested in helping schools make real and lasting changes.
That's amazing. Empowering schools to really lead the way with technology.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Giving educators the tools they need, changing schools for the better, and preparing students for a future that's increasingly driven by technology.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So for those listening who are ready to apply, what's the one thing you want them to take away from this deep dive?
Just go for it. Don't hesitate. Go to the OET website, check out the application, and start thinking about those game-changing projects that will make a real difference.
Don't let this opportunity pass you by. And remember, every single detail matters. Make sure your application tells your story, your vision, and shows your dedication to those students.
We believe in you.
Good luck. We're rooting for you. And that's a wrap on another episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you feel informed, inspired, and ready to make your tech dreams a reality.